Chairman, we're now live.
Okay, good evening and a very warm welcome to this virtual meeting of the Central and South Planning Committee of the London Borough of Hillingdon. This is a virtual meeting that is also being broadcast simultaneously on the Council's YouTube channel, Hillingdon London. My name is Councillor Steve Tuckwell and I am the Chairman of this evening's meeting. As it's an online meeting, we will go through some online housekeeping. So if I'd ask members and officers on the meeting this evening to ensure that any phones around them are on silent. If you are wearing a headset, can you just ensure that the microphone is away from your mouth to avoid any noise? And please keep the microphone muted when not speaking and unmute to speak. Only one person may speak at a time, and I as a chairman will call those to speak. So that's the online housekeeping that we just run through. So I'm now just going to do an attendance roll call. When I call your name, if you could just indicate that you are present. So we'll start with Councillor Chapman.
Present, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Ahmed Walana.
Present, Chairman.
Councillor Brightman.
Present, Chairman.
Councillor Chamdow.
Present, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Tubadar.
Present, thank you, Chairman.
Councillor Duncan.
Present, thank you.
Councillor Bira.
Present, Chairman. Thank you.
And Councillor Dillon.
Present, Chairman.
Thank you. Okay, that's the members, the voting members on this evening's committee, but I will also do the same for the officers that are supporting tonight's proceedings. And I'll start with our planning officer, Meg Harani.
Present, Chairman.
Thank you. Our head of planning, James Roger.
I'm present, Chairman.
Okay, our Democratic Services Officer, Luke Taylor.
I'm present too, Chairman.
And our legal advisor this evening, Glenn Egan.
Present, Chairman.
Okay. Right, okay. I haven't missed anybody, have I, Luke?
No, that's all good to me.
Okay. As we are in an online virtual format this evening, the terms and meeting control, if a councillor does leave the meeting due to a lost connection, etc., then I will continue the meeting unless we are not quorate, which is 3 councillors. It's important to note that if any councillor does leave the meeting for a period of time, they will not be able to take part in the vote for that particular item. Okay, that's some of the online housekeeping taken care of. So now we can start to move into the main body of the agenda. So we'll start tonight with agenda item number 1, apologies for absence, Luke.
We've had no apologies.
Okay, good. We can now move on to agenda item 2, which is declarations of interest in matters before us this evening. I see 2 indications there. Councillor Ahmed Walana.
Mr. Chairman, one of the person related to the applicants for application, agenda item number 8 and 9, I had a conversation with a friend and I was on the phone. I would like to declare non-pecuniary interest for both items, and I will log off my switch off my video and remain quiet for the proceeding for both items.
Okay, thank you for confirming that, Councillor. Councillor Tubadar.
Yes, Chairman. I've got a non-pecuniary interest in item number 12. I've had discussions with residents in our ward surgery with reference to this item. Thank you.
Okay, and you'll be turning off your camera and microphone and not taking part.
Yes, sir. As per procedure, I will turn off my camera, mute, and will not take part in that particular item. Thank you.
Okay, all right. No, thank you very much for that, councillors. I don't see anybody else indicating, so I will now move on to agenda item 3, which is to receive and agree the minutes of the last meeting. Now, there's 2 lots of minutes. We had the short meeting after full council on the 14th of May. Can I take those as agreed? Anybody indicate?
I'm willing to propose that we agree, then, Chairman.
Okay. So we'll take those as agreed. And then we had the meeting of the 19th of May. Again, any comments in relation to those minutes? Okay, I'll take silence as that they're okay. So Luke, both of those minutes are agreed, yeah?
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, we'll move on to item 4 on the agenda, which is matters notified in advance or urgent, which there aren't any. So that leads us nicely to agenda item 5, which is to confirm that we have 2 parts of this evening's meeting. Part 1, which is in public, and part 2, which is in private. So when we get to the end of part 1, we will cease the YouTube feed and debate the items in private. Okay, right, now we can move on to the main part of the meeting, which is the applications themselves. The first item we have is agenda item 6, 32 Cowley Road, Uxbridge. This does have a petition attached to it, which we'll cover off after we've had the presentation. So I think at this point I can hand over to Meg to take us through the application. Over to you, Meg.
Thank you, Chairman. This application relates to 32 Cowley Road, which is a 2-storey semi-detached dwelling located on the east side of the road and close to its junction with Hinton Road. The application is for a part 2-storey rear extension, and if I can just take members through the plans and photographs. That's the site. And just to point out, the design of these 2 particular properties, 30 and 32 Cowley Road, is different to the rest of the properties adjoining. The adjoining properties are designed with a stepped approach, and this is a straight wall along this section here. It's also unusual in that it's a fairly narrow building with quite a lot of windows facing onto 34. Also unusual is the fact that number 30 adjoining has a church hall in the back, or a church in its behind it, and the petitioners are in fact members of the church. That shows the proposed extension. This is the extension element here. And the main issue really is the impact on the adjoining occupiers in terms of its design and appearance, and the way that it links with the existing building. Officers have no issues with that. The issue really is the impact on the adjoining occupiers. These are the existing floor plans and the proposed floor plan. So the extension is this element here to the rear. As you can see, it is an unusual property in that a number of habitable room windows have their only windows facing out, looking at number 34. And that's the existing elevations and the proposed elevations. And that's the aerial photograph. So the church hall is in this position here. That's the front of the property and the adjoining. That's just looking towards the rear of the site. So the main issue, as far as your officers are concerned, is the impact on this particular property here. And these are habitable room windows. They are the only habitable room windows to these rooms. And this property at the moment goes considerably beyond these windows, and the extension will increase that by another 3.5 meters. So your officers consider that the property already has an impact, and this will make the situation worse. In terms of the impact on number 34, there are no habitable room windows close to the boundary, so the impact is acceptable, and it doesn't come within the 45-degree line from any habitable room window on this property. Also, if I can just move the photographs forward, it does not impact on the church. The church does have a number of windows, again, on the boundary with the application property, but the extension doesn't come beyond the church. So if I can go back to the floor plan. So that shows that the windows that we were looking at were in this position. So the extension doesn't obstruct any windows on the church. And so in terms of loss of light and so on, your officers don't believe that there would be any impact on the church or on number 30. The main impact is on number 34 and the windows in this position here. And for that reason, we are recommending refusal. So if I can just finish the photographs. Then that's the adjoining property with the windows. To a lesser extent, it will have an impact on these windows as well. And as I said, this is the adjoining property at 30, and the nearest habitable room window would be this one here, and that the 45 degrees line is not obstructed by the extension. So the application is recommended for refusal on the impact on number 34. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay, thank you for that, Meg. Now, as I said, this is a petition item. We don't have a petition from the petitioner, lead petitioner, but we do have a statement from the applicant. So, Luke, is it over to you now?
Yeah, that's fine. I'll just share, because the applicant and agent sent in a document just to follow up. So I'll just share that, and then I will quickly go through what they sent in as their submission. Okay, so if you have a quick look at this, the only thing of note is the triangle is the visibility splay. So that's the area that they wanted to highlight, and they will highlight that in the written submission, which I'm just about to go through. So I'll just let you all have a look at that just for 1 minute, and then I'll go back to the written submission. Okay. Right. I'll just go and find the written submission. Bear with me 1 moment. Okay, so the submission states that following the planning officer's recommendation for refusal, we object to this conclusion for the following reasons. As stated by the planner, the proposed extension would appear as a subordinate addition to the property and would not be out of character with its design and appearance. The planner accepts that the current property already extends more than 10 metres beyond the windows of 34 Cowley Road, and that the positioning of these houses isn't ideal. This should not stop a well-designed proposal being forthcoming. We accept that the splay line of rear window at 34 Cowley Road intercepts the proposed double-storey rear extension. However, the splay line needs to travel 9 metres before it hits the proposal. The length of the splay line ensures a wide aspect of incoming light and outlook is still achieved with the extension. And that's what was illustrated in the proposal that I just showed you. The neighbouring property at 34 Cowley Road receives ample amounts of light with and without the proposed rear extension. The proposed extension will have little effect on the amenities of 34 Cowley Road, hence why no letters of objection were received. This is a proposal for a small rear extension to allow my client to increase the size of his home. In relation to the comments made by the Hinton Road Spiritual Church to loss of light, increase in noise, increase in traffic, lack of car parking, etc., the planner has commented on these points in the report as follows. Loss of light and increase in noise. The proposed part rear extension, by virtue of its size, would not have an adverse impact upon the adjoining neighbours at number 30 Cowley Road. As such, the proposal would not result in a loss of their residential amenities and light levels. Increase in traffic and lack of car parking. The proposal does not result in additional bedrooms, and thus the parking situation does not change from what exists. And they have stated that we endorse the positive aspects in this planning report and feel that the proposal should be granted planning permission. Thank you. So that's the submission there. We also had a comment from the ward councillor, if you'd like me to read that out, Chairman.
If you wouldn't mind, please, Luke.
Yeah. So we had a comment from Councillor Judith Cooper, who's Ward Councillor for Uxbridge South, which states, "I'd be grateful if you can convey a comment from me as Ward Councillor. I fully endorse officer's recommendation of refusal and support the petitioner's objection to the application. Many thanks." That's everything, Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Right, we've had the presentation, we've had the statement from the applicant, we've had the statement from the Ward Councillor. So, anybody indicating want to kick us off on this one? Councillor Duncan.
Sorry, Chairman, if I could just interrupt. I did forget to mention there was an addendum on this item with Councillor Cooper's comments in the addendum.
Councillor Duncan, I think I saw you indicate that.
Thank you, Chair. Yes. It seems that the petitioners from the church, that their grounds of objection are full because they're not really going to be affected, as we saw, I think, from the presentation. So hopefully they will be reassured that their light and current arrangements wouldn't be changed at all by this proposal. But I do think it does very much affect number 34, as officers have shown, and the photographs show that. And the overshadowing diagram, well, it wasn't overshadowing, it was called something else, that Luke showed us from the applicants, I don't think was positioned absolutely accurately as far as I could see. Anyway, it didn't seem to be from that exact window that we were seeing during the presentation. And I do accept that this building is already way beyond that. Yes, that wall will be south facing, so which to some extent, I suppose, is you know, a good point rather than a bad point, but it will completely go beyond our policies, and I agree with the officer's recommendations, and I would like to propose that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Duncan. Councillor Chapman, did I see your hand go up?
You did indeed, Chairman. Yes, all I can really do is echo what Councillor Duncan said. I think the application is above and beyond basically what's acceptable. I do know the area quite well, and as you say, those two houses are much more set back and quite imposing anyway, so I think it would very much overshadow the neighbouring house, so I'm more than happy to second the proposal.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Chapman. Anybody else indicating? Councillor Troubadour?
Just wanted to reiterate what the two councillors have already mentioned. I fully support the officer's recommendation for refusal on this one.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Councillor Ahmed Bolana, I think you indicated.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I agree what my colleagues have said. Can I ask a couple of very small questions? Number one is just to clarify, does this proposal have no impact on character of the area and appearance and street scene? Mainly, it is emphasizing on the impact on the adjoining properties, number 34. Second point is, if it does go for appeal, how robustly we are confident that we will win?
Meg, can I pass that one over to you? Maybe James might want to come in as well.
Thank you, Chairman. In terms of the character, the extension in itself is designed to appear so that it is in character with the property. So its design and appearance is acceptable, and it's not particularly visible, although it is close to a corner. The church building obscures most of it from view anyway, so it wouldn't be particularly visible from public viewpoints. But even if it was, your officers would consider that its design is acceptable. In terms of its appeal, this extension would increase the length of wall beyond the windows that I was showing you by another 3 meters. So it would extend beyond the mainly affected windows by 13 meters. And generally, we would say that anything beyond 3.5 meters is unacceptable. So it already has an unacceptable impact, and this would make it worse. So we consider that we would have a decent chance on appeal. Thank you, Chairman.
No, thank you, Meg. Are you okay with that, Councillor Ahmed Walana?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I'm not seeing anybody else indicating. We are moved and we are seconded. So unless anybody indicates, I'll move to a vote. Okay, right. So we'll start then. Councillor Chapman, you seconded, so I take it you're for.
I am indeed.
Councillor Ahmed Walana.
I am for the recommendation, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Brightman.
For, Mr. Chairman.
Councillor Chandal.
Yeah, for, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Tubadar.
For refusal, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Duncan, you moved, so I take it you're for refusal.
I'm for, yes, thank you.
Councillor Borough.
Sorry, Councillor Borough, I think you're on mute there.
Yeah, sorry. For refusal, Chairman.
Thank you. And Councillor Dillon.
Sorry, Councillor Dillon, you're also on mute, I think.
Apologies, bit sensitive. For.
Okay, thank you. Right, I make that unanimous for refusal. Luke, do you concur?
I can confirm, yep.
Okay, I can confirm that agenda item 6 is refused. Okay, right, let's now swiftly move on to agenda item 7. It is the Central and South Planning Committee, so it wouldn't be one if we didn't have a monopole. So, Meg, over to you to take us through this one.
Thank you, Chairman. This is an application for a 20-metre monopole replacing an existing monopole on Harmondsworth Road close to the M4. It would probably be easier before I go straight into the presentation, if I could just make an amendment to the heading, and it should say 7 new equipment cabinets, not 5. So if I could request that amendment when members consider the application for a decision. Thank you, Chairman. As I said, this is an application for a replacement monopole, and it is on the edge of the green belt. That's the M4 there, and members will have seen similar plans quite a lot recently. That's the site and the existing site, and the proposed site is about 10 meters towards the south, and that's the proposed arrangement. And that's the existing elevations and the proposed and existing together. So this is the proposed position at the moment, and as I said, about 10 meters to the south of that is the new position. There are 7 new cabinets. It looks like there might be 4 or 5 because they're grouped all together. So there are in fact 3 different cabinets in this position and another 3 in this position, rather than what looks like maybe 1, which is why there was confusion as to the number of cabinets. And that's the siting. And the current monopole and the proposed monopole is about where this photograph was taken from. So it is a very minor change in position, an increase in the height of the monopole, but in terms of the number of cabinets, it's pretty similar in terms of the area that they take on the ground. So we feel that the visual impact is acceptable, particularly given the tree cover that you have to the rear of the site as shown there. These photographs were taken early in the year without any leaves on them, and it probably shows that even then their visual impact is acceptable. So we feel that in this position the application is considered acceptable and recommended for approval. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Meg. Right, let's open this one up. Just to confirm then, it is an additional 7 cabinets. I'm sure members might have a couple of questions on that. But I will now just take indications. Councillor Chamdale.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for the officers for noting down the additional cabinets. It doesn't actually say how many cabinets we have currently. I just want the officers to confirm. We are moving from 4 cabinets to 7. That's the first thing. I'll get all the questions out of the way so they can answer. Also on page 19, second paragraph, point 1, there's a comment about will not add undue visual clutter. I'm not sure what that means. It's one of those on balance comments. Clarifications on that. Also on page 20, if you go into point 3, something we had on the previous meeting, an open-ended sort of time limit on removal of redundant equipment. And then once again, it says that as soon as reasonably practicable. I would be more comfortable if we had a date and time, say 3 months, a month, whatever. It's workable, but having it as reasonable practical, it doesn't work for me.
Meg, do you want to come back on that?
Thank you, Chairman. In order, in terms of the number of cabinets to be removed, there are 5 cabinets there, and if I can just go back to the presentation again, I can just show you. So there's 5 cabinets, so you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Those cabinets are to be removed, so 5 cabinets and 7 to be proposed. These cabinets are spread much wider than the proposed cabinets, so in terms of the area that they take on the grass verge, it's very similar. In fact, the new cabinets would probably take less area, so that's the reason why we've sort of said that it wouldn't create or add visual clutter in terms of the sort of spread out of the cabinets that you've got at the moment. In terms of the time limit, there is a condition 6 which specifically requires the existing cabinets to be removed within 6 months of the operations commencing of the new monopole. So we have a time limit. Members may want to discuss whether it should be 6 months or less. The reason why we've given 6 months at the moment is obviously the situation we're in. It may take slightly longer to remove than it may do in normal circumstances. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay, thank you.
I think 6 months is too long because they're proposing 7. We've got 5 already. You're talking about 12 then. So moving from 5 to 7, fine. I've got no problems with that. Moving from 12, I think that clutter, then there would be a lot of clutter there. That's my opinion.
Can you just clarify the number of the net increase? I made it. It's going from 5 to 7, so that's a net increase of 2. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not 12, Roy.
No, if it's not removed, there'll be 12 there.
Oh,
They'll have the existing ones, which is 5. They'll have the other ones, which is 7. So that my mathematics, according to that, is 7 plus 5. There'll be 12 there for up to 6 months.
Okay. Hold that thought for now. I've got a number of councillors who've indicated. So I've got Councillor Chapman, Ahmed Moulana, Dillon and Troubadour. So I'll go through and pick those up, starting with Councillor Chapman.
Thank you, Chairman. I very much approve of the application in itself. I was going to mention the 6-month thing. Initially, I have to say that I thought it was a bit excessive, but I do go along with the idea that given the current global situation, maybe they do need more time. So I am comfortable with 6 months, actually, given the current situation. I don't know whether anybody's actually, I don't know whether previous speakers have moved it, but I'm happy to recommend that we go with officer's recommendation.
I've got Councillor Ahmed Moulana, you indicated.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I did indeed. It's quite a nice application, actually. Installation of the new equipment and only addition of 2 cabinets, removal of the redundant cabinets and ancillary equipment, relocation, 17.5 meter to 20 meters, not bad. No impact to the street scene, very important one. That's acceptable. As reasonably practicable. Yeah, I think if we accept that terminology, I think I quite like that. But as my colleagues would agree on 6 months. 6 months is fine. I mean, not longer than that, but if we have a specific time frame, so at least 6 months is absolutely acceptable. I'm happy to second, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Ahmed Moulana. Councillor Dillon, you indicated.
Thank you, Chairman. I really don't have much further to add apart from the fact that I would prefer a 3-month time limit. There is obviously, we are in the current circumstances that we are in, but it seems that many people are out there working, and you know, they are within a 3-year period of putting this together and installing it, and I'm sure it's going to take them 3 months to get this all organised and installed, and we should be out of the situation by then. So I don't think a 3-month removal, within 3-month removal of any ancillary and disused products is too harsh, really. So that's my point on it. And if anyone else wants to, if you want to go with 6 to 6, but I would prefer 3.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. I've got Councillor Troubadour indicated, but I can see Councillor Duncan as well. So I'll take Councillor Troubadour first. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Chairman. Well, I find point number 3 and number 6 on page 20 contradicting each other, to be honest. Because on point number 3, we are saying as long as these electronic equipments are communicating, they can stay. So what if the supplier or the telecom provider continued using the existing equipment alongside the new equipment? That's one point. So the second point is it is reasonable to expect the service provider to remove their equipment within 3 months.
Okay.
Thank you, Chairman.
Okay. Meg, can you cover off Councillor Troubadour's points there, points 3 and 6?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. It may appear contradictory, the 2 conditions, but hopefully they will make sense. Condition 3 relates to the new equipment. So what we're saying is that if any of the new equipment during its lifetime is no longer needed or breaks down or whatever, and therefore they need to remove that equipment during the lifetime of the new monopole. The condition number 6 relates to the existing monopole, and we're requiring everything to do with that monopole, including the equipment cabinets, to be removed within 6 months. So hopefully the 2 conditions are separate and they do make sense once I've explained it. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Troubadour, did you want to come back on that?
Yes. So in that case, can we clarify it is applying to the new equipment and not the old equipment? And also at the bottom, we clarify that the old equipment should be removed within a given time limit, which in my opinion should be 3 months. Thank you.
James, did you want to come in there?
Yeah, I just thought it might help if I comment on the 3 or the 6 months. It's important to note that what we're saying is the old equipment is removed within 3 or 6 months from commencement. So it's not 3 months from now. If the mast goes up in 3 months' time, they then got a further 3 or 6 months. The reason I mention that is I'm quite happy with 3 months. So if more than half the members want 3 months, my view is I'd be quite happy with 3 months, because I think the point to note is not from now; it's from when the actual use commences,
which could be 9 months. You know.
Yeah. And in terms of the final wording of the conditions, if you're happy to delegate with me after the meeting, I can work with our legal officer and we can make sure it's absolutely precise. Exactly what needs to be removed. But my view is I'll be quite happy with. I think we could justify 3 months.
I'm seeing a lot of nods around my tiled computer screen here. But before we move on, we've got Councillor Duncan. I think you indicated.
Thank you, Chair. Yes. I think conditions 3 and 6 are clear because it does talk about the structures provided in accordance with this permission. So in other words, not existing ones, but proposed ones. And 6 talks about the existing apparatus and as shown on the existing plan. So I'm very happy with that wording. But in terms of the 6 months, I do agree with other councillors that it should really be 3 months. I mean, even now, people are able to go and do work outside. And this is all outside. It's work where people can work and socially distance safely. And if they're able to go out and put up the equipment, then I think that they would be able to take it down at the same time. So I think people go out on the job, they will put the new pole and cabinets up, take the others down. I think 3 months is very reasonable, and I would like to propose that we change it to 3 months, please. Thank you.
Councillor Chamdale, did you put your hand up there?
Yes, Chairman. I was just going to say what Councillor Duncan's just commented on, that it's planned away from the existing site as well. So while they're putting it up, I can't see an issue why, a team to come and pick it up and a team to put it down. I mean, the same team could do it. You pick it up, we'll put it in. Yeah, so I think it's reasonable because I think we're increasing the number of cabinets, we're increasing the height of the monopole, not bending over backwards, but this is what is required. That's what's required. At the same time, we haven't mentioned about the color of these cabinets. I think if we could have that, I'm not sure if it's there, but if we can have that, so just to make sure. Because I think it's a good point that we made last time. Same coloured cabinets, put on concrete plinths, whatever it is. And I'll second Councillor Duncan's proposal there.
Okay. I think the colour is conditioned in there, and I think this committee has actually shaped future conditions for future monopoles. So it's good to have these debates. I'm pretty sure I saw Councillor Borough indicate there, and I think Councillor Chapman does. This monopole's getting a lot of debate, which is good. Councillor Borough.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I quite agree with my colleagues, and I think 3 months is a time we should really allow, because 6 months is quite longer. Thank you very much, Chairman.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Chapman.
Thank you, Chairman. As you know, I've already proposed that we accept the application. Given the clear consensus, I'm more than happy to say I propose we accept the application, but with the proviso of a 3-month time limit, which is probably the easiest way of wrapping everything up.
As you said that, Councillor Ahmed Boulana indicated. So,
Mr. Chairman, yeah, I already seconded it. I'm happy to change to the time frame of 3 months, as the majority said. So that's fine.
Right, I don't think we're precious over 6 months as a committee, so I'm not seeing anybody else indicate. Just before we go to a vote, let's clarify what we're going to be voting on. We are moved and we are seconded, but we are now going to be voting on approving this particular item on the basis that we change the 6 month removal clause to 3 months. And James, you're going to reword some of the timescale wording as well, yeah?
Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to check with the legal officer whether we think we need to tighten anything up. So I'm effectively requesting delegated authority to double check the conditions after the committee, and any changes will be extremely minor and only intended to ensure it's absolutely clear and the wording is precise.
So to clarify for members, we're voting on to approve this item with delegated rights for James to check with the legal team to firm this up, and we are approving it on a 3 month removal clause, not 6. Okay, so we are moved, we are seconded. Councillor Chapman, with those 2 changes, you moved it? Take it.
Approved, Chairman.
Okay. Councillor Ahmed Walana, you seconded, but I take you're for it with these 2 changes?
I am for, Mr. Chairman.
Councillor Brightman?
I'm for, Chairman, along with giving the delegated authorities to James.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Chemdale?
Yeah, for, Chairman, with the changes mentioned by yourself.
Councillor Tubadar?
For, Chairman,
Thank
with
you.
all the changes proposed. Thanks.
Councillor Duncan?
Yes, for as amended and with delegated powers on legally checking the wording.
Councillor Borough? Councillor Borough?
For, Chairman.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Dillon?
Thank you, Chairman. I'm for.
Okay. Luke, I make that unanimous for the for approval with those delegated changes.
Yeah, I can confirm I have the same.
And I can confirm that agenda item 7 is approved with those changes. Okay, good debate that one, I think, and it helps to shape policy and conditions for future applications, I think, as well. Right, agenda item 8 and 9, I think, are going to be taken together, but we're going to vote on separately. Is that right, Meg?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Agenda items 8 and 9 are exactly the same applications. One is a planning application and the other one is a listed building application, as the site is within the curtilage of a listed building, so they need listed building consent as well as planning. But in essence, they are the same application. So one presentation, as members will be glad to know, and 2 different votes, as you said.
I'll hand over to you then, Meg.
Thank you, Chairman.
So, Chairman, just to confirm that Councillor Ahmed Walana declared an interest and he has left the meeting for this.
Of course, thank you.
Thank you. This application is for land to the rear of 122, 123 High Street, Uxbridge. Members will know the site pretty well. To the front is McDonald's, and next to that is Bar Italia, or solicitors, and then a Bar Italia. So the McDonald's building itself is not a particularly attractive building, 1960s building, but the other adjoining buildings are listed and are very attractive listed buildings. The application is for the demolition of a single-storey car showroom, which is this element here, and its replacement with 7 residential units in form of a 3-storey building. This just shows the listed buildings. This is the McDonald's building here, and these are the listed buildings all adjoining, and this one as well. The police station members will know very well, also a modern building. That's the site, and the site extends up to these points here, so it is all of this site here. This is the actual building, and this is open car parking at the moment, all hard standing. And that's the proposal. So in essence, the impact on adjoining occupiers is considered acceptable. Members will know from the history that permission was granted for a similar scale of building, although the composition of the residential units was different and included larger 3-bedroom units rather than the proposed 1- and 2-bed units. It was for 5 units as opposed to 7. And these are the floor plans, first floor and the top floor. And this is the existing elevation. These are the frontage buildings. This is the McDonald's, and then the building on site is this single-story building here. And that's the proposed elevations. There are plans which I'll get to in a minute which compare the approved scheme with the current, and you'll see that in terms of its scale and massing, there's very little difference between the two. This is the existing elevations and the proposed. And again, existing and proposed. So these are the plans which show the proposed as opposed to the consented scheme. The green is the consented scheme, and the sort of the white elements that you see around it are the current scheme. So it is, in terms of its scale and massing, very, very similar to the scheme that was approved back in 2014. And again, this shows the elevations and compares it to the proposed. So, as I said, the green is the consented scheme, and the black line around is the proposed scheme. And some plans showing materials, and that's the site. These are the listed buildings on the front, and the McDonald's here. And the photographs of the site. There are some residential properties around, and the impact on those is considered acceptable. That's looking along Warwick Place towards the site, and then towards the police station at the other end. That's the car showroom on site, and it'll clearly be an improvement to demolish that and hopefully open up the back of the listed building more than it currently is. That's a wider photo of the site, and that's the police station on the corner. And then just looking in the other direction. So in terms of the design of it, there's been considerable input from the conservation officers. They now consider it to be acceptable, and in terms of the compliance with the council's policies, all of the flats comply in terms of their size. The amenity space does not comply, but your officers feel that given its town centre location, the fact that there are open spaces very close to this site means that we would accept a reduced level of amenity space. In terms of parking, this is a Section 106 car-free scheme, so no occupiers of the units on this site will be eligible for a parking permit. There is parking spaces shown on the site. They are for the commercial occupiers, and there's disabled space for general use for for residential or commercial occupiers. So hopefully that covers the parking situation. So we feel that given the previous permission and the car-free scheme, that in this case we are able to recommend approval on this scheme. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay, right. Thank you very much for that, Meg. Just before we go and open it up for some debate, just to remind members that it is a consented scheme with previous planning approval. So who wants to kick off the questions for officers? Councillor Duncan?
Thank you, Chair. I realised that there was a previous scheme on this site, but when we look at the plans, and it's very difficult to, I haven't got a page number in the plan book, but when we look at the plans showing the general layout, the building, which is sort of second along, where there's a dog leg in the wall, it seems to look out just on a wall, and the building next to it doesn't have any rear windows at all, because obviously it backs onto the wall, and the second one seems to have quite a bit of its wall against the party wall with one of the listed buildings. But I just wonder whether this is acceptable in terms of the area it looks out onto, this arrangement. I don't know what the previous property was there, but if this is going to be a unit, then I don't know how it can meet our policies. I wonder if we could just have a look at that. And also, if the parking at the rear is going to be for the high street properties, it's not all that clear. Can we see where at least some disabled space is, which might be for the use of anyone? Yeah, it's just here. Oops, if you can go back. On this plan, it's this part here. And this window looking out here seems to just look out onto this bit of wall, which is very, very restricted. It's, yeah, here.
Sorry, Meg. I think you're on mute, Meg.
Sorry, I was mute. So these 4 units here, they're double aspect. So they have windows to the front as well as to the back. So yeah, this window particularly will obviously be very close to this wall, but it does have windows onto the street. So this is one single room. So it's double aspect, has windows to the front and rear. This is the only one which isn't double aspect. It has windows only to the front. So these are all double aspect windows. And this is a single story element as well. So the double story is up to this point.
Right, it's really, I can see the one at the very top that doesn't have any rear aspect. It's the one just to the south of that. That's quite a large room. It has a kitchen section, and you're required to have a certain amount of light under building regs, aren't you? From opening windows, whatever. You know, it's meant to be natural sources of light in order to reduce, you know, energy consumption and carbon and all the rest of it. And so it's that sort of small window door area at the rear that just looks out onto a wall, which looks very close. Well, it's right next to it, isn't it? Surely that doesn't comply.
No, but there are windows to the front as well in that room.
But do they give enough light under building regs? This is what I'm saying.
Well, I'm not sure about the building regs, but we consider that in terms of planning, they would comply, because they have windows to the front as well as, so they have fairly large windows. If I can just go to the elevations, so they have these fairly large windows to the front, plus the door, so they have windows in these positions as well as to the rear. So
it only looks like one door and one window to me.
Windows as well. No, they have two windows to the front. Unfortunately, they haven't coloured it in. But they have this is a window as well, and a window in here and a door.
Why have they shown them like that?
I don't know why they've shown them in grey, whether they're obscure glazed or not, but they are clearly windows on the plans.
But that would reduce the amount of light. I mean, we're meant to be designing things that are sustainable, that don't use, so that people don't have to have lights on all the time. We're meant to be maximising this for environmental reasons, sustainable reasons. That's my only concern about it. And it's just really that unit. And could you point out where the disabled parking would be, please?
So they've got parking spaces here in these positions. So I can't quite make out the symbol on the plan, but there appears to be a wide space in this position, which I would guess is the disabled space.
Could we condition that, please, so that we know that there is at least that will be marked, you know, if it goes ahead, when it goes ahead.
Yeah. So condition 3 requires details of the parking layout to be submitted, which includes the disabled space, the position of the disabled space as well, to be clearly indicated and marked out. So we are conditioning that under condition 3.
Thank you, Meg.
Thank you, Chairman. Bottom of page 33, because that's an area I wanted to pick up. So, okay, thanks for that. Councillor Chapman, you indicated.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I have to say, to start off with, that I found the plans very difficult to read and look at, to be honest, because they're covering such a large area. By definition, the area of the actual buildings is relatively small, even on a sheet of A3. Also, there didn't seem to be any scale or anything to actually measure things. I was going to mention the parking, but I'm glad to see that one's been covered. I was going to ask in terms of refuse management. As far as I can tell from the map, the bins are by the actual vehicular access to the rear. Councillor Duncan's already mentioned Unit 5 on the ground, the most northerly one. I was going to ask how far they'd have to walk, to be honest, to actually deposit their rubbish. I think the advised maximum is 30 metres, and without a scale I couldn't tell, but I couldn't help but imagining that if you've got 5 houses along, it might be in excess of 30 metres. I'm also mindful of the amenity space on this one. I appreciate Fastenage Park is probably only about 150 yards away, but it is the other side of a dual carriageway and a roundabout, so it's not the most. It's not a question of just popping out of the door, so to speak. You've got to dodge the buses and everything. I'm also actually very mindful of what the conservation officers have had to say. I appreciate there is an outstanding application, an approved application, should I say, for the site, but I don't think we're such bound by that. I appreciate we're going to be demolishing, if we accept it, we're going to be demolishing a awful 1960s car lot, but if the best thing you can say about the new design is that you're going to be demolishing a car lot, there isn't a lot to say, a lot to advocate with it, sort of thing. Can we clarify the distances involved, please?
Thank you, Chairman. In terms of the distance to the bin stores, I would estimate that it's about 25 metres, given the width of the unit. they wouldn't be more than 4 meters wide, I shouldn't think so, or 4.5 meters wide. So I would estimate that it's about 25 meters. In terms of the amenity space, again, it's a balance. We could have gone for refusal on amenity space. However, this is a town centre location where we are a bit more lenient on amenity space requirements, and it is, as you say, very close to Fasnage Park. So with those factors, we considered that the reduced level of open amenity space was acceptable. We are requiring just over £9,000 as part of the 106 agreement for public realm improvements. And that's linked to the open space deficiency on the site. So hopefully that also goes towards improving the situation in the public realm as well. So together with those factors, we felt that that element was acceptable. In terms of the design, you are correct in saying that the permission granted in 2014 has expired, but it is a factor that we need to consider. We did grant the site was in a conservation area. It was attached to listed buildings to that point in time as well, and the design or the scale and bulk of the approved scheme is, as I stated in my presentation, very similar to the current scheme. So we do have to consider that we have granted permission for a scheme previously, albeit that it can't be implemented currently. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Meg. Councillor Chapman, did you want to come back on any of that?
No, that's fine, Chairman. Many thanks to Meg for the clarifications.
Okay, Councillor Brightman, you indicated.
Thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to clarify on page 36.12 about the parking allocation. Although it says that it will include 5 parking spaces and 2 for the commercial units, it doesn't specify whether any of those will have electric charging points, and as that's the direction of travel, I'd like some clarity on that, please.
Maggie, can you pick that up?
Yeah. Thank you, Chairman. Again, I go back to condition 3, and we're requiring that all of the parking spaces are provided with electric charging points. So all 7 spaces will be provided with electric charging points as part of that condition.
Okay,
Thank you for that, Megan.
Thank you. Councillor Borough, did you raise your hand there? Councillor Borough, did I see you indicate?
No, sorry, Chairman, no. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm having to sort of empty heads all over the place trying to see who's
yeah.
James,
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry. Meg said there's 7 charging points, but it says they're passive. Effectively, that means there's the infrastructure for 7. It need to be changed to active if we're actually providing 7. So I didn't want to misinform planning committee. It's quite important the way these things are worded sometimes. So they're not actually providing any charging points. They're just providing the cabling underground, so they could be installed by use of the word passive. You'd need active in there if there's actually charging points. Now, what I would say is this is a town centre site, and if one thing changed since 2014 is that we now require charging points. That's the one big change I could think of. So I'd certainly be happy if members want to take a tough stance on charging points to support that. But we would need to get the wording exactly right, Chairman.
I think I would support the change of wording. I think Councillor Bright wants to come back on that.
Yes, please, Chairman. If we could do that, please, because I was thinking, because it's a particularly enclosed car park as well, you don't really want combustion vehicles churning out fumes when they're going to impact the garden and the properties directly because it's very enclosed. There's no through draft to clear pollution. So it would be a good idea to make sure that we specify that they do actually work.
Sorry, if I can come back, Chairman. So to be reasonable to the applicant, I think what we do is probably have all the spaces to be passive and maybe have a couple of active actual charging points, because it would be a bit over the top if we had 7 charging points for such a small development. So maybe 2 charging points would perhaps be what I'd recommend.
I'm seeing a few nods there around the screen. So, okay, Councillor Duncan, you put your hand up there.
Yes, I was going to propose that we do put some in. If James thinks that 2 is reasonable, then I would propose 2. And in view of the history of this site and the fact that densities, in fact, I think have increased since then on this, on the town centre and other areas, I will move the recommendation.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Duncan. Councillor Chandau, and then Councillor Dillon, I think you indicated.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd just like to ask clarifications from the officers regards the amenity space once again. What is the policy in terms of what is required, and how much of a shortfall is there? Because it looks like this application is basically on balance. It's a trade-off really from what we have existing at the moment to have some building which is not as bad. It can't get any worse than that car showroom. It is dated, but if the officer would just give me a bit of a hang on the amenity space, please.
Can you pick that up?
Thank you, Chairman. So we have 6 2-bed units and 1 1-bed unit. Each 2-bed unit would require 25 square meters and a 1-bed unit would require 20. So in total, we'd be requiring 170. What they are providing is approximately 70. So they are well short of the requirement. And in terms of town centres, we do say that non-family units we would accept without any amenity space. So if we discount the 1-bed, then 150 is what they would normally require, because we would consider the 2-bed to be a family unit. So they are well short, and on the amenity space, it is an on-balance recommendation, but it was on the basis of Fashionage Park and the open space contribution. Thank you, Chairman.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I see it on page 62. I just wanted to make sure that was correct, because it's a huge amount. It's not sort of 10 meters, 20 meters. This is a third of what our policy says. So I think we need to state it as it is. It's not a small amount. It's huge. But, like you said, it's on balance and it's a trade-off.
Thank you. Councillor Dillon, you indicated.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had initially an issue with the amenity space, but Fashionage Park is literally 5 minutes walk from there, and this is a town centre development, and increasingly, I suppose, we will start to see more of these, especially with the current situation. God knows what's going to be happening in the future, and the way shopping is changing. We'll see more and more town centre developments. So I'm happy to second this proposal, if that's okay, with the additional conditions such as charging points, etc.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Dillon. I'm not seeing anybody else raise their hands, so we are moved and we are seconded. We have got an amendment to make on the condition for charging points, in that there'll be 2 active charging points provided on this application. So unless anybody indicates, we'll go around to take a vote, knowing that we've got to do a vote on the agenda item 9 straight after. So I will need a mover and a second.
Sorry, Chairman, could I just clarify that will that be delegated authority to James to change the conditioning, or is that just a straight change to the conditions?
sorry, Luke, it's just a straight change of adding to that there be 2 active charging.
Thank you very much. That's great.
Thank you, Luke. I'm not seeing anybody indicate we are moved, we are seconded, so I will go round to take a vote. Obviously, we're going to include the amended on the charging points. Councillor Chapman?
Thank you, Chairman. On balance, go with officer's recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor Ahmed-Bolana is not in this meeting, so we'll go to Councillor Brightman.
Thank you, Chairman. I go with officers' recommendations.
Thank you. Councillor Chandal?
Yeah, definitely on balance, I'll go with the officer's recommendation with the other bits that you said. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Tubadar?
Thank you, Chairman. I'll go for the officer's recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor Duncan, you moved, so I take it you're for it?
Yes, 4 with
Thank
2
you.
active charging points.
Yeah. Councillor Borough?
Thank you, Chairman. I go for officer's recommendation with 2 approved charging point.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You seconded, so I take it you're for with the amendment.
Indeed, I am, Chairman.
Thank you. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's 7 unanimous. Luke, do you concur?
I can confirm that for number 8, yes.
So agenda item 8 is approved. So going on to agenda item 9, we've had the presentation. Can I have someone to take us forward on that? Councillor Duncan?
I'd like to move item 9, officers' recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bira?
I'd like to move with officer's recommendation, please.
Okay, right. I don't see anybody else indicating on this one, so we'll go straight to the vote. Councillor Chapman?
Agreed, Chairman, yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Brightman?
Go with officer's recommendation, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Chandal?
Officer's recommendation, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Duncan, you move, so that's a yes for you.
It's for me, thank you.
Councillor Bira?
Yes, please.
Thank you. And Councillor Dillon?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, move officer's recommendation.
Okay, I take that as a unanimous approval for agenda item 9. Luke, do you concur?
I can confirm that, yep.
Fantastic. Okay, another good debate, I think. So, excellent. Right, we can now move on to agenda item 10. Meg, I think you've got a very short presentation for this one.
Mr. Chairman, I'm back.
Welcome back, Councillor Ahmed-Bolana. We missed you. Meg, are you there?
Sorry. This is an application within Brunel University for an additional 10 bikes to be added to the existing docking station to make a 20 bike docking station. The site is well within the university campus, and if I can just go directly to the photographs, it would probably be easier to show you. Members will remember, time flies, but it was back in August 2018 that the original 10 bike docking station was approved, and it is in position currently. So that's the site of it. The site is in the green belt, which is why the application is before you. And that's showing it in relation to the campus itself. It's in this position here. And this is the whole of the university campus. These are the existing plans of the station. And that's the site of it, looking from above, and that's existing. And where you see the red lines is where the additional bikes are going to be positioned. So you've got 10 bikes on this side, or 5 bikes on this side, and 5 additional bikes on this side to give you 20 in all, looking in that way. So very quickly, no issues, no impact, and we consider it to be acceptable. Thank you, Chairman.
Nick, I've had 2 councillors indicate already, well 3 now. So Councillor Chapman, you just first.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I think this is a good scheme. I've got no issues with it. I think it's a nice way that they've utilised the land without really impacting on anybody else. And it's good to see actually that there's demand that they've had to increase the capacity as well. Assuming nobody's got any issues, I'm more than happy to recommend that we go with officer's recommendation.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I don't think there's going to be a stick too long on this. It's within Greenbelt, but it's within the campus. Know it well. Fantastic. Students get to get more bikes, get them more healthy. Fantastic. I'll second the recommendation.
No, thank you, Councillor Turnbull. Councillor Ahmed, did you have your hand up?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. It's indeed a very good scheme and a healthy initiative. Every time I love to support university, so no issue at all. And of course, there are no objections from the public, and I love to support this.
Okay. I'm not seeing any other councillors indicating. Have I missed anybody? No. Okay. Well, we are moved and we are seconded. Nobody else is indicating, so we'll go to a vote. Councillor Chapman, you moved, so I take it you're for?
Yes, Chairman.
Councillor Ahmed Walana?
Mr. Chairman, for to approve the application.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Brightman?
For, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Chamdal, you seconded, so I take it you're for?
I'm for, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Tubadar?
For, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Duncan?
I'm for.
Okay. Councillor Bira?
For, Chairman.
And Councillor Dillon?
I'm for.
Okay, thank you, everybody. I make that unanimous 8 votes. Is that right, Luke?
I have unanimous too, yes.
Okay, good. So that's agenda item 10 approved. Okay, right, that's the end of part 1. I'd like to thank everybody who's been watching us live on YouTube, but at that point we are now going to be cutting the YouTube feed as we're going to be going into part 2, which is private. So thanks for watching and good night.
If everyone could just remain muted for a few moments, I will cut the stream. Thank you.